In a dynamic society which keeps transforming day by day, there is a need to equip learners with 21st century skills. This is where education reforms come in. Today we talk about the new competency-based curriculum in Kenya and what that means for careers and the education system as a whole. To help us discuss matters CBC, I am joined by Patrick Chiriswa Andika, the Assistant Director of Business Development at the Curriculum Development and Research Center. Patrick, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yes. So first things first, we need to understand why CBC in Kenya.
Thank you. Understanding why CBC in Kenya, first of all, you need to appreciate why education. The role of education in any country is to serve the needs of the country.
Yes.
Now, when you look at where we have come from as a country, at independence, for example, what was the role of education? The role of education was to give us the manpower that was to replace the whites who were leaving the country. That means the focus of education then was on white-collar jobs.
Yes.
Now, as we moved after independence, when we had the first commission on coming up with the national goals of education, the Uminde Commission in 1964, and thereafter, we begin to see different challenges arising in the country. That is why, for example, when we had the 1981, the Mukuhi report that was supposed to establish the second university in this country,
yes,
they recommended that we needed to refocus our education towards the technical subjects. They recommended that we needed to introduce agriculture, we needed to introduce arts and design, we needed to introduce technical drawings and so on, so that we could be able to produce the middle-level laborers that were required in this country.
Yes.
When you begin to think about that, you begin to see that then we must go back to the education system and ask ourselves, how do we orient our education system so that the products of the education system can
yes,
get the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes and values that are required by the employer. Mm-hmm. We begin to think about what we call employability skills.
Yes.
A study that was carried out in the year 2015 from 25 countries, just to find out what are the type of competencies that employers require employees to have.
Yes.
It gave out the soft skills that are required by the employers. Can the employee be able to communicate? Can the employee be able to collaborate? Can they be innovative? Mm-hmm. Can they think critically? How creative are they? Can they be able to work in teams?
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
They all focused on the soft skills. Mm-hmm. So we go back to the curriculum to say we must now introduce the competence-based curriculum.
Yes.
If you look at our blueprint, the Vision 2030, talking about why the country must be able to move to a middle-income country by the year 2030, we begin to ask, how do we move there? We need to overemphasize on manufacturing. Do we have the manpower?
Yes.
We begin to say, let's go back to the curriculum and begin to focus on what we call STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Can we have even 60% of the students who are going to the universities going to pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics?
Yes.
We must reform the curriculum. We must reorient our education system so that we have people going for the right courses. Remember the dates that we have been in. When we are even borrowing to put up SGR, the Chinese have to come with the labor.
Yes.
Because we don't have the right manpower. So our people are crying about unemployment because they don't have the right education. So CBC comes in to address the problem of relevance of education. Mm-hmm. That means there must be a linkage between the universities and the industry.
Yes.
Learners, even as early as first year in the university, should be taken for industrial attachment. They begin to know what is required in this industry. Mm-hmm. The linkage must be there.
Yes.
At the global level, for example, all countries are emphasizing on the fact that education has to be relevant to the needs of the society.
So we need to match the two.
We must be able to match the two. So the focus on competence-based curriculum is premised on a number of factors. Number one, we want the trainees to acquire what we call employability skills.
Yes.
We want the learners to, even at the lowest level, develop competencies that are required. Can they be able to communicate and collaborate? Can they be able to be critical thinkers?
Yes.
Can they be able to be imaginative? Can they solve problems? Are they developing citizenship? What about their level of digital literacy?
Yes.
What about the level of self-efficacy? Are they developing the confidence? Number two, we are focusing on acquisition of values. We are still struggling with the issues of corruption day in, day out. And it has a big impact on the economy. So we are saying, can we relook at our curriculum and say, how do we address the problems of the society using the curriculum? Can we inject some values throughout the systems of education so that by the time the learners are ready to go to the labor market, they have acquired the relevant values that are required?
Yes.
They can demonstrate respect, they can demonstrate patriotism, they can demonstrate honesty and live by it, they can demonstrate love and so on.
Yes.
So that is what CBC is all about. Premised on the fact that we need to develop the head, but also focus on the heart and also build the hands.
And I think it's a very important aspect you brought out about now not looking at just what you can recall, because that's, if you were to go by that, then majority of the students would actually just drop out.
Yes.
So it is an inclusive sort of education system.
That is true.
So would you give us an overview of the basic education system now under the new CBC, right from early years education all the way into TVET?
Competence-based curriculum that we are talking about today.
Yes.
We have a vision that we want to produce a learner who is engaged, who is empowered and ethical. That a product of an education system must have something to do. They must be engaged.
Yes.
Our mission is that we want to nurture every learner's potential.
Yes.
We are beginning from a point that every person who is born on this world has some inherent attributes. They have some potential in them. So the role of education is to help identify the potential in the learner, nurture that potential, allow it to grow, and allow every child to be successful. So this system of education, the competence-based curriculum,
Yes.
begins up at the lowest level. We have what we call the early years of learning,
Yes.
where learners will be expected to join pre-primary 1 at the age of 4 years. Then they go into pre-primary 2 at the age of 5 years. This is what replaces what you originally used to call ECDE,
Yes.
or the so-called nursery, the pre-care, pre-kind, and so on. We expect to have 2 years of pre-primary, pre-primary 1 and pre-primary 2. Then from there they proceed into the lower primary. At the lower primary, we have grade 1 at 6 years, then grade 2, 7 years, grade 3 at 8 years. Then from there they proceed to the upper primary, which is another 3 years.
Yes.
And then from the upper primary they join into junior secondary. Junior secondary will be the grade 7, grade 8 and grade 9. And then from junior secondary they proceed to the senior school, which is grade 10, 11 and 12. Now at senior school, the system between pre-primary 1 and grade 9,
Yes.
all the learners are doing same number of learning areas or subjects, as it were. But as they go into the senior school,
Yes.
it is providing for what we call pathways. At the senior school, there are 3 pathways that have been identified. There is a pathway for arts and sports. Those who may find that they are endowed in sports, that is where their potential is, they'll have room to specialize in those sporting activities like the basketball, football, rugby, and so on.
Yes.
And along with them, they will also be learning certain core subjects that they require, like community service learning, like communication skills, like physical education. So there is that arts and sports. The second pathway is the pathway of humanities or social sciences.
Yes.
That is where we'll have the languages and business studies. And then there is the third pathway that now is what we call STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, what is the spirit of having pathway at that time?
Yes.
The spirit is that at this level, a learner would have been helped to begin to discover themselves, so that they know their passion. Remember, one of the major challenges we have had in our education system is assuming that every learner fits in the same subjects.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why we came up with the idea of pathways. And these pathways are not only being tried here, they have been used in other countries, in Japan, in Germany, in Malaysia, in Finland, and so on.
If you also maybe compare the structure of the job market to a pyramid, you realize that we have the least number of people at the top,
yes,
and the number increases as you go downward. So we need to have more mid-level and junior level workers.
Actually, they are the producers,
yes,
in any organization. Because at the apex, people are interested in policy and decision making.
Yes.
But once that decision has been made, it has to be operationalized. Remember, when you develop a policy and you begin the implementation process, then it means the policy maker's work is already over.
Yes.
So if we focus on producing university graduates that they'll be making policies, there are no policies to be made anymore. And that's why we are saying we have to reorient our education system. If I'm going to the university to learn about entrepreneurship, I would rather spend half the period outside than in the university copying notes. Because outside here, there will be no opportunity for copying notes.
Yes.
It is how you implement the ideas. Are you able to be innovative enough? Can you be able to take the risk? Can you start a business? Can you be able to see how the business runs on a day-to-day basis? So universities must reorient even the way they train their graduates, so that they are focusing more on development of competences as opposed to recall of
Yes.
what they have learned.
Yes.
Because in the past it has been about recall. So you are in an entrepreneurship class, you are being taught by a lecturer who has never started any business. So both of you have no competences in business completely.
Yes.
So at the end of it, as he releases you to go out there, you are actually two blind people. There must be a linkage between the industry and our training.
Yes. Yes.
So industrial attachment, coaching and mentorship, as opposed to copying notes every day and reproducing in cards and examination. That way we cannot produce competent people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And having in mind that TVET institutions mostly lean on hard skills, while university, it is more about soft skills. So that being said, where do you think the focus of the government or even the Ministry of Education should be, TVET or university?
The focus today should actually be on TVET.
Yes.
If you have heard, the Ministry of Education has gone down to close a number of campuses of universities and ask the universities, the Commission of University Education has been following up on the type of courses that are being offered.
Yes.
Are they really giving the trainees what is required in the labor market? So today, the focus, and I want to appreciate what the ministry is doing, actually there is massive investment in TVET.
Yes.
Today, a trainee who is going to a national polytechnic, going to a technical training institute, there is automatic capitation of 30,000. Their fees is only 57,000, but the government is paying directly capitation of 30,000 per learner.
Yes.
And then the same learners are accessing up to 40,000 help. So from the 40,000, you can comfortably be able to settle the remaining 27,000,
Yes.
and you are through with the fees of 57. Today, the county polytechnics are picking any learner, regardless of the grade you got at KCP or KCSE. So you can join there without any entry behavior, so long as you know what you are interested in.
Yes.
If you are interested in welding, you go there and do your craft course in welding, and you come out with the competences that are required. So the focus of the government today should actually be in over-investing in technical institutions,
Yes.
and closing as many universities as possible.
Okay.
Unless the courses they are offering are in sync with what is required by the market. There is no reason why a graduate from a university should walk around for 5 years, they have not found any employment. They are washing vehicles and saying, I went to the university. You went there to do what? Education is an investment. It will only be an investment if there are returns.
Yes.
And the returns will be measured in terms of what you are able to earn out of the education that you have acquired. So if I come out of the university and the help is waiting for me to start paying the loan,
Yes.
and 5 years down the line, you see, you begin to question, how does the university prepare the trainees for the employment? Because it must go beyond being given notes to be made to visit where you will work, to know what the industry requires, to begin to develop positive attitudes,
Yes.
to begin to develop networks, so that by the time you are coming out, you already know somewhere that you are going.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to
It does not
restructure
pay.
our universities.
University learning must be restructured, a lot of time.
Yeah.
So the relevance of the course will be very important. It will not just be about going for a course because I've been called to a university.
Yes.
But when you are called, you ask, is this required by the market? If you find your answer is no, then you don't need to go there.
Yes.
Yeah, because it tells you, you come out and you still become irrelevant.
Yes.
And that's why some research that was done by Federation of Kenyan Employers 2 months ago, it found actually that it is in Kenya where we have people even with PhDs doing jobs that are meant for diploma holders. Yes. Because the PhD they did may not be relevant.
Yes.
So you have to come down to where you fit.
Yes.
Yes.
So even as you choose a course, you ask yourself, why am I doing this?
Why are you choosing? Where are the opportunities? Do you intend to go into self-employment? Is there an opportunity for self-employment? Who will be your customers?
And I think that will also help solve the unemployment problem we have.
That is it.
So many other issues, even
That
if
is-
we look
that
at
is
Vision
true.
2030,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And as now the CBC implementation continues until we phase out the old 844 system, what impact do we expect CBC to have on learners?
Number one, we expect the products of our education system to be engaged. We expect that any graduate coming out of the education system must at least find something to do.
Yes.
We don't expect so many idlers in marketplaces who claim to be also graduates of an education system, yet they have never even been able to identify their talent. They have never been able to identify their passion. They don't know what they can be able to do. We expect graduates of an education system that can be able to communicate and collaborate.
Yes.
You can be able to work with others because you have been equipped with the skills of being able to work with others. We expect the graduates of our education system to be innovative and creative, to think critically. We expect the graduates of our education system to have a high level of what we call self-efficacy.
Yes.
Believing in yourself, demonstrating confidence in anything that you are doing. We expect the graduates of our education system to at least have developed what we call values.
Yes.
We want to have what we call a values-based education system. Let me tell you, when you go to other countries, like when you go to Japan, even by the time you alight at the airport, you discover that you have not been in a normal country. Because the way people behave in Nairobi, for example, somebody will knock you, and instead of saying sorry, they will actually be ready to abuse you again.
Yes.
Because the value system has never been emphasized on. So if we can be able to have a values-based system, even the issues that we are talking about, corruption, will have to go down.
Yes.
So we expect generally a person who is engaged, empowered, and ethical, and therefore can contribute to the development of this country.
Yes.
Yes.
So engaged, empowered, and ethical. Okay, and what are your final words to maybe some of the stakeholders we have in the curriculum reform and more so CBC?
My final words is that we are all consumers of this system of education, because in one way or the other, the products of our education system will have to affect you so long as you are in this country. So my appeal is that for all the stakeholders to appreciate the change in the education system. Key stakeholders among them are the implementers, the teachers. Teachers must be willing to go beyond what they are trained in, learn a new way of doing things, because we expect them to implement things differently from the way they were taught.
Yes.
So we want teachers who are ready and willing to learn. Learning to learn is a competence they need to have. We want, for example, the parents appreciate the competence-based curriculum, create an environment where your child can be able to be the best. Identify their passions and help them grow that passion. Help in financing education by creating an environment at home which helps to at least grow the competences that we want the child to develop.
Yes.
We expect the government will continue to be supportive of the new system of education and more so invest more in technical training.
Yes.
So that we can be able to grow business and we can be able to create job opportunities in the informal sector.
Okay.
So basically we want to appeal to all stakeholders, appreciate the change in the education system because it is the best for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
And do you have an encouragement for the people in university? Because I think we clearly have seen that there is a flaw in our university education, but now that we have gone to university,
now that you are there,
is there hope?
there is still hope because
Yes.
the role of the university is supposed to open up your horizon.
Okay.
Once it has opened up your horizon, you begin to even understand yourself better. Can you begin to see where your passion is when you are in that university? Can you begin to scan the market and see? Because in the university, you still have room for adjustment.
Yes.
Because if I was doing a bachelor's of arts degree and I'm specializing in sociology and Kiswahili, for example, and I scan the market and I discover this sociology may not take me anywhere,
Yes.
I can begin to see, even as I finish, I may think that the next degree I go for, I now focus on Kiswahili and forget about this other area that may not take me anywhere. So there is still room. Let them open up, let them scan the market, let them discover that where they are going,
Yes.
it is not about, the university may not be preparing them for the market they are going to. So they can also be able to do something to make themselves different. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
It was a really insightful discussion.
My
and
pleasure.
We now know what CBC means because I'm sure there are so many people in campus and you actually have no idea what CBC even stands for, by the way. That's a question you need to ask yourself. So thank you so much for making time for us and for telling us all we need to know about CBC.
Thank you.
Look at education as an investment, and whatever course you decide to pursue, make sure that it is relevant to what is needed in the labor market. That's all for this week's episode of Elimu ni Nguvu, but make sure you catch us next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. and my name is Mukuhi.